It's about to go down with Marc and Cathey, a live coaching show about dropping ideas. Marc and Cathey coach and have conversations with brilliant idea creators who are reimagining the world through the expression of their words, thoughts, and action.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to It's About to Go Down. I am Marc Williams.
I'm Cathey Armillas, and we have our good friend Lefford Fate with us. Lefford is retired from the Air Force. Let's see if I can get this right. Command Chief Master Sergeant. Did I get it right? Yes. Awesome. Okay.
All in.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. And now he's also serving as Support Services Director for the city of Sumter, South Carolina. And that is not all that Lefford does. He shows up in the community. I think he said that he likes to be a useful servant. He is that to the max. But I also have a very fun story about Lefford and how we first met. So Lefford wanted to give a TED Talk years ago, and he stumbled across my How to Rock a TED Talk program. And so completely outside of me, he bought the program and went through it like the good student that he is. And he gave a TED Talk and he nailed it. And it went viral. It has so many views, and it was so good. And it was How Do We Correct Corrections, right? That's the title of it. And so then he just reaches out to me and said, hey, I went through your program. I really liked it and would love to chat with you. And we instantly, Marc, became friends. Yeah. And so then I knew Lefford for all of these years and years. We're seeing each other constantly. He started teaching some of the How to Rock a TED Talk stuff, integrate it with things that he teaches. And one day he shows up in Portland for our creative lab for Speaker Skills Academy. And it's the very first time I actually see Lefford live and in the flesh, and we can hug. And yes, he surprised me on how damn tall he was. So Lefford, welcome to our show. Your idea, I love this. So you have 4 questions that you ruminate with all the time. And it's this. Question number 1, who are you? Question number 2, what are you about? Question number 3, what do you know? And question number 4, what do you do with that? I love that. So welcome to the show, Lefford. And tell us a little bit more about your idea.
Wow. Well, thank you very much. I'm excited to be here and excited to talk about that first meeting, because what Cathey didn't say was I devoured her How to Rock a TED Talk program. I mean, it was, when you get an opportunity to talk at a place like TEDx Charleston, which is pretty massive for us, and you don't really know what you're doing. And I found this product, and it was just like, oh my God, how good it was and how it helped me in everything that it came with speaking. And I needed to reach out to Darren LaCroix, and I was like, Darren, when you talk to Cathey, could you tell her how much I appreciate it and how much I loved it and how helpful it was? And it was like, tell her.
Tell her your damn self.
but how? She is like speaker, trainer, coordinator. She's all this. He said she's all that and a bag of tricks, because she's an awesome person. And that's what he said. She's an awesome person. And Cathey, what impressed me the most is when I reached out, you received my call out of this dude out of nowhere. You received and you helped me, and we had a great conversation. It was amazing. And you let me learn the culture, your stuff. And I was just amazed. So I am so happy that I got to meet you. And then you introduced me to a brother from another mother, Marc, which is an amazing guy who, like I said, I've not hugged his neck, but I've there's a bromance going, because this is just a good dude also. So I'm so excited that I get to participate in this.
So awesome.
So this idea of being a useful servant. You said this earlier, but I spent nearly 31 years in the United States Air Force. I retired as the Command Chief Master Sergeant at Shaw Air Force Base. And I learned a long time ago, I was 20 years old when I was promoted to sergeant. And they said the sergeant it means to serve. And I'm like, to serve. And I figured out a long time ago that if I truly served other people, if I did my best for others, that I was gonna grow from that. I was gonna be happy. It brought me great value. Um, the good and the bad side. There's a good and bad side to that, Cathey, because the bad side of it, I always felt that if I wasn't serving, if I wasn't doing something for somebody else, I wasn't fulfilling my purpose. And
Mm,
so there was times that when if I didn't serve you great, not just well, but if I didn't serve you great, that I didn't feel good about who I was. And
mm,
so but I love service. You can't do anything for, I think it was Emerson said, you can't do anything to or for someone that doesn't come back to you. That's my
mm.
Georgia. I Georgified it, so you're gonna have to forgive me, right? but
Georgified
but
it.
I Georgified it, but that was the thing. But so everything you do to or for somebody will come back to you. That whole law of vibration, all that thing, and so service is a huge thing for me. So I did the 31 years in the service. I got out and I worked as a geriatric program director for a mental health program. I ran healthcare for the Department of Corrections in South Carolina. And now, where I work support services, I
Mm,
get to serve my community.
mm,
And that is important to me. And so the important thing is when you have an identity, when you can line up who you are with what you do, you're hitting off all cylinders, all cylinders. If you can align who you are, your identity, and then what you do, then you're flowing in direction. Whether you hit it every time or not, you're flowing in the correct direction, and that's the idea. I'll steal a quote that's worth spreading.
yeah.
See how I did that?
I saw what you did. And you already had an idea of our spreading. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's because how many times when I left the military, there were a whole bunch of my friends that got out and they took jobs. Some of it was just money, some was just for something to do. And many of those people weren't happy because they didn't feel that they weren't fulfilling a purpose. It's really hard to
Mm,
serve your country and then come out and then just do something for a paycheck. It's difficult.
Mm.
yeah.
Um, and so I recognize that if you're not doing the thing that you were created for, you're not as happy as you could be. And I
Yeah.
think happiness is hugely important.
Mm.
How did you discover what you were put on this earth to serve?
You know, it'd be really cool if I could say something like, Mark, you know what? As a wee child, I just had this inspiration. You know what? I stumbled on it in a way.
Hmm.
Because sometimes, and this isn't the cool way to do it, Mark. Sometimes the best way to know what to do is when you figure out what you should not be doing.
Mm,
Mm. Mm.
mm,
And
Mm.
you kind of back into it. And it's not the coolest way. It's just like when I was just doing it for getting promoted for a position or to have the best shift or to make more money. I was getting those things, but I wasn't joyful. I wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled.
Mm.
But when I did something and I was benefiting other people, again, if I was at service to people, somebody was having a better life because of what I was doing. When I became a supervisor, I was a young E4, we call a senior airman. I was a top airman and the Lord took, I did my best work when I was taking care of my troops.
mm,
My best work is when they had an issue or a problem that I can go in there and I can assist with that issue or problem. That was something was going right. Or I need something like, well, call Airman Fate. Airman Fate will help you. Then it
mm,
was Sergeant Fate will help you. And for some reason, when I was serving other people, when I was serving my country, when I was serving my family, I felt like that was my purpose. I was that guy that was gonna you could call on, and it lifted me up, and I got stronger from it. So that's kind of how I figured out. Um, when I did this, I wasn't fulfilled. I was being drained. When I did this, I was inspired and I was helpful and I was growing, and it felt really good.
Mm. I feel like there's some big irony too that you found your highest purpose, Lefford, while you were serving in the service. Like I think that a lot of people, yeah, and the play on words is great, but I also
Yeah,
mean like anybody that's in the service is already serving, but then to take another layer where you're actually serving the people that are also serving. And I do know that about you. This is a great strength that you have. I I love that the thing that you said about sometimes you find your best, purpose by knowing the things that you shouldn't be doing. 'Cause
exactly.
you can feel that so much. There's such a big difference. It feels like an energy suck. You can do it, and maybe you can even do it well. But when you're doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing, oh, it fills you up. It makes you feel great. Um, Leffert, what would you say? I'm just so curious because I have known you for many, many years now, and you are you are more than a useful servant. I feel like that term is not good enough for what you actually are. Um, but I wonder what feels like the most important act of service that you've done in your life. Or I don't know if I don't want to maybe put the highest on the pedal, but what feels like really, really important to you?
Mm.
I just so there's so many things. Again, I will never go back on the fact that I love serving my country. That was the coolest thing in the world.
Mm.
Um, but there were those times when people was going through things, and I was the guy that they called. Can you help me? I remember, and I'll change the names to protect the guilty. I was stationed at Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico, and I was a squadron superintendent, and I was a master sergeant, and this chief had a son that was struggling with behavioral problems and alcohol, issues with alcohol. And she came to talk to me because my background was in mental health and drug and alcohol. And so it wasn't to fix it. She just needed to talk. And so she talked to me about what was going on. And then I had a conversation. I was like, and I used to coach basketball. And the kid liked sports. I said, "Hey, can I talk to him?" And it was like, "What?" I said, "Can I talk to your son?" And then we just had a conversation.
Mm.
And we just talked about basketball and stuff. And I became like a pseudo mentor for the young man. And it just somebody he could talk to that wasn't a parent, because if you're a parent, sometimes your kids don't want to talk to you. And then, but you could talk to other people's kids about stuff, right? So we just had a conversation. It was just very helpful. I mean, I helped, everybody helped, and it wasn't for getting anything back. It was just to help. Um, and it felt good in here, but ultimately, she had an opportunity to lift my name up that I didn't even know about. My name went up and I got picked for a position. And I realized that whenever I was serving somebody, it's not what I was going for. I wasn't going to get anything out of it. But whenever I was doing service, something always happened to elevate me to do something else. And
Hmm.
Mark, the funny thing about the thing that it elevated me to was a higher level of service. I wrote something down here earlier when you were talking, Cathey. It's not that it just feels good when you serve. It's not that, because sometimes when I'm serving, it doesn't feel good. It just feels right. Even when it's
Mm.
hard, it's right thing to do. And so sometimes you get elevated to a higher level of service, and then you get to help more people. And it continuously feeds, I'll say it continuously feeds me. Um, Part of my ego comes from being useful to people. Uh, Arnold Schwarzenegger has something like being useful. He has said, in life, be useful. Just so what does that mean? Because you can be useful as a tool, all right? But be useful in what you do. But so if I'm useful as a servant, if I'm useful as a father, if I'm useful as a husband, if I'm useful as a friend, that makes me feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Mm.
So
You-
I don't know if I answered that right, but that's just
You
what I
did.
feel.
Lefford, do you ever ask people, in addition to like who you are and what you're about, do you ever ask them about how they've been useful or when they've been asked to help somebody else?
Yeah. You know, Mark, I don't, and the reason I don't ask if you've been useful, the reason I don't ask, because that's my identity is being useful servant.
Mm.
I'll tell you what I did to my kids when they were younger, and I was younger, and I wasn't that smart. Because my identity was being a useful servant, that I was everybody should be a servant, or
Mm.
everybody should be a this, everybody. If so, once somebody has an identity who they decide they are, if your identity is to be a teacher, to pass on knowledge, it may not. The question I may ask you is, are you useful at it? Well, probably, but are you teaching? Are you
Mm.
fulfilling your identity, whatever that is? If you're a warrior, and I'm saying, hey, are you useful? Well, I don't know about that, but are you defending and supporting and fighting the good fight? So that's kind of how I like to ask the question towards that person. Because again, and I don't know if you've ever done this or it's ever been done to you. Somebody tried to paint you into their mold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I did that with my kids for a long time. I wanted them to mini me's, mini Leffords, which was appropriate because I'm daddy. But if they didn't want that, then I was forcing something on them that they didn't want.
Yeah.
I love that
And
perspective.
missing out on what their true identity
Yes,
could be,
yes, yes.
right?
So the question that's why I asked the question, who are you? I mean, like, not your job, not your title, not your position, but who are you? I mean, open kimono, this is who I am, right?
Mm.
And so when I say a servant, I can say, okay, a servant is a person that serves. What are you about? For my service is to help people. Not I like helping processes. I love doing programs, but it's the people. I mean, I'm about the people. If Mark needs something, it needs to be specifically for Mark in my book. If Cathey it needs to be specific. And then because the question I say, what do I know? I believe in that whole growth mindset. I know that if you want it bad enough, you're willing to put in the work for it, if you have passion for it, that you can get good at it. It might take a long time. I know that. And because I know that, I keep pushing people to that. I keep telling them, I keep saying it. Well, I don't sing it. I talk loud because singing, I'm horrible at that. But I keep pointing at it and I can get aggravating with it because I'm like, no, you could, if you really want it, you could do it. Well, no, you just understand. I said, no, 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 no. Listen, listen, listen. If you really want it and you really, really want to put the work in, even though it might take a long time, you can get it. I, I,
Mhm.
I promise you. And sometimes I'll double dog dare 'em. I mean, sometimes I'll do it. Sometimes I will do it.
Oh,
I love that. I love that. You know, something you said earlier, from what you just said brings me back. And I wrote this in my notes when you said it. The sweet spot is knowing who we are,
yeah.
right? And I see that's where the powerful questions are. As a dad, as people have worked with others, and I guess I'm also going to throw myself in that category as a speaker, as an educator, we often run across people who struggle with figuring out who they are, right? I mean, that's not just a question for kids, right? I
No,
mean,
no.
there's people of all ages, shapes, sizes, identities. Um, how might these four questions steer somebody closer to figuring out who they are?
That's a good question.
You're right, Kay. That's a great question. I think one of the ways I think it steers is that you got to take time with self. You actually have to take time away, because if you just allowed zero time, you are who somebody tells you you are.
Yeah.
If you just his chief, right? It's a wife, husband. So if I'm asking the question, who am I? Or if I'm looking to you and say, who are you? You might say, okay, my job says I'm this. My family says I'm this. My friends, the world says this. And I say this. And then I'm taking all of that information and I'm spending time with it. And after spending enough time, I'm going to pause for the cause. This is worth figuring out. It is worth spending as much time as you need to figure out who you are. I mean, concentrated, controlled, focused time to figure out who you are as a person. And then you can say, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not this. And then you can just nub it down to get there. And that'll help you move in the right direction. Because I'll go back. Once you know what you are, and my Christian friends will say who you are and whose you are. Once you know that, then you can say, okay, if that's true, then what does somebody like that do? What does my identity as a useful servant, what would a useful servant be doing? And then I sit with that question. And that whole what are you about and what do you be doing? That's that I'm moving in that direction. So if I say this, I'm a useful servant, and then I'm about helping people and helping them be whatever they can be or decide to be. Okay, so if that's true, what do I know about that? What about that do I know to be factual and true?
Mm.
And then because I'm massaging this thing. And then okay, let's say all that's true. Mark, all that's true. I'm a useful servant. I'm about people, and I know that people have growth potential. What are you doing? Then I can get into a position where I'm talking to people, I'm coaching people, I'm helping people, I'm loving people, I'm just being with people, and everything I do is about people growing. And then that's a roadmap for me to continue walking. And again, knowing your purpose and who you are, I think um, you may not hit the mark every time. You're not going to hit the mark, but I'll be doing things to allow me to hit the mark. And I realize sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I can evaluate, hey, this is what I'm going to do for the day, the week, the month, the year. And then at the end of the month, I say, this is what I did last week, last month, last year. This I can evaluate what I'm doing and say, does it still align with what I say?
Mm.
That's how I'm doing it, right? Because I'm still tweaking, still tweaking.
I have a thought, Lefford. I love that. I love the pause for the cause. So good. Such a good line. And just, stopping to like not because you just do things. You show up and you're like, I do this work. I'm good at it. I'm this is how I show up in the family, and I just do. I also think, at least for me, I can see that some of this also includes, or it did for me, included painting outside of my lines, like being able to go. I had to expose myself to more, more things that were in my sphere. I had to intentionally go outside of the things that were normal to me in order to really find that gift. And sometimes it's by accident. I remember, funny story about how I became an Olympic level fast pitch softball pitcher is because I had a really good friend that her dad was the coach, and I just wanted to be on the team because I wanted to hang out with my best friend. And so I'm sitting in right field, like looking around, and I just don't have that personality, but I didn't know it when I was a kid. I was like, if I'm going to be doing something, I got to be the one, like I got to be touching the ball a lot. And so I asked my dad, what position do I need to play if I want to touch the ball a lot? He's like, pitcher or catcher? And I was like, no, thank you on the catcher. And so I became really good at pitching because of
Right,
something
right.
in me that I didn't know. So that was an accident. And then there were times in my life that like something would veer me. You know, I read a marketing book, and I'm, you know, one of my marketing clients gets asked to give a TED talk. That changed the trajectory of my life because of that. You know, so yeah, I feel also that that people who maybe don't know exactly who they are and what they're about is probably because they've stayed in all the spaces that are already confining them or holding them or where they're at. So I don't know. What do you think about that, Lefford?
I love it because if you know who you are, there's a good chance that you're willing to try something else to see if that also fits.
Mm.
For me, because I remember when I went rock climbing, I was stationed up in Washington State, and somebody said, "Rock climb." I'm an athlete, but at that time I'm an athlete. I do athletic things, and so I gave it a try because if I don't like it, I'm like, oh, tried it, don't like it. But I'm because I know who I am and what I my identity as an athlete. This is what athletes do. You can go make moves. You said something. It was an accident. And I asked myself, was it though? Was it an accident? Um, it could have been, but you're willing to try things to go outside your box to expand. I'm interested in it because I think when you know who you are, you can get curious about things.
Mm.
Also, I know that I'm not about that. There's some things that I won't do. I had a chance to speak for a big tobacco company and I worked for one of their contractors doing some training. And then some of their people were there from HR and they saw me and they were like, "Oh, do you want to do this?" And I know that I wasn't big into cigarette stuff. I'm sorry if you're donating money, cigarette people. I just had somebody in my family die with cancer, and it was lung cancer. So I didn't want to do that. I wanted to speak, I wanted to, but I didn't want to do that because I knew
Yeah.
my boundaries. I wouldn't do it. But there were some things that I didn't know, but I said I'll give it a go. It's an interesting thing. You can be because some people say, well, if you know what you want, then nobody can throw stuff at you. But also, if I know who I am, I know what I want, I can test the water for stuff that meets my boundaries. I mean, I give it a go. It was being a speaker coach was something that I didn't really think that that was something that I wanted to do, but I love speaking and then helping other people speak. So that was outside, but I gave it a chance because I felt pretty confident in who I am as a person.
Mm.
So was it an accident? Was it though? I don't know. I
Maybe,
like that.
maybe not. Yeah, right.
Mark is like, huh.
Huh, was it an accident? Life's big questions.
Because what do again if you I know I'm not supposed to be asking this question, but if I were to say who are you, and then if you when you answer that question, does a person like that do what I'm looking at doing? If I'm a teacher, if I say again, Mark, because I know you're a teacher, if you say I'm a teacher, a rabbi, I'm a teacher. So I what does a teacher do?
Ooh.
Am I doing that? So
Wow. Wow. I love that you framed it that way because it really takes people out of the role. Because you're right. A lot of people identify themselves either by the role they're currently in or the aspiring role. But to then ask, like, what does a teacher do? What does a astronaut do? Right? What does a psychologist do? What does a speaker coach do?
ooh,
And it's so funny because it takes me back to when I originally got into education, or when I was thinking about it, the first thought actually wasn't a teacher. It was a guidance counselor. That was actually my original thought. I never pursued it, even though I thought about taking a psychology class in college. but I never pursued it. But when I really look over the course of my teaching career, when I look over the course of my career as a school leader, I start to realize that for me, not for everybody else, but for me, what Marc Williams, the teacher, did is always find that spark that brought somebody else alive.
Mm.
That's even why I love coaching so much. And that's why asset-based coaching stands out to me so much. Because, yeah, I could talk to you about what you're doing wrong, but what I really want to leverage is what you're doing really well. Because that's what this teacher does. So I love that you asked that to push people beyond the title. Man.
Okay, I'm going to upgrade my thinking here. Lefford, I appreciate you pushing back on what I said. I just thought of something when you were speaking, Mark, because I just recently asked you this. I said, Mark, how did you, I remember asking you, how did you go to college? And I wanted to hear your educational journey, especially given your background and your family. And I just wanted to know, right? And maybe it's not an accident. Maybe it's when we're in discovery mode, when we're in this mode where we're willing, because that's basically what you were saying, Lefford, right? If you already kind of identify as somebody that like feels great about, or that considers themselves an athlete, your discovery mode will always be apt to open up towards certain things. And I think sometimes when you're in like your highest efficiency discovery mode, you're willing to do things that you have no first primary connection to. It's not like somebody that's doing it or somebody, there's no kind of primary connection. It's some random thing that just came into your sphere somehow. But because you were in discovery mode, you were willing to bring that into your sphere and say, is this who I am?
Yeah.
You
The
try
British say, give it a go.
What was
Give
that?
it a go.
Yeah,
The
give it a
British
go.
say, give it a go.
Yeah.
Give it a go.
Yeah. And
You
so
know,
I'm loving that so much because it makes you think too, like, what other things don't you know about yourself yet? There's people that become medical doctors when they're 70, 80 years old. Like what things have you not discovered about yourself that you could be really good at or that you really love if you're not in discovery mode?
Yeah. One of the tough things to me about asking these questions to young people, you get a 15, 16-year-old is that they don't know. They're so far, so broad. One of the things that I learned is that you can change it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think Jordan is the GOAT, but I'm gonna talk about LeBron for a little bit. I did want to go ahead and put that out there, right? Sorry. Like LeBron is amazing, but one of the things I don't know this, but LeBron's like at 40, you're at the top of the world when it comes to basketball. If all he was a basketball player,
mm,
if all he was a basketball player, um, and that was his identity, where is he going when he turns 50? Because as bad as he is not going to be running him down the court real fast at 50, right? Um, and it relates to me because I got good friends. You talk about lines. I got really good friends again who were chief master sergeants. They had to get out of the military, and they're miserable because their identity was the chief master sergeant. And there's restrictions on that thing. You only can go so long. Now, you can still support the Air Force. He can still be around basketball because, Shaq and Charles and Jax, all these people, they're doing basketball stuff, but is your identity just a basketball player? So you can change that thing. But while you're discovering, Cathey, you can continue to discover as you go. I just feel that I'm blessed that being a useful servant is something that I can be for the rest of my life. But if there comes a time that I want to change, I can change. Now, I'll go back to what I said about the kids. Some of them don't want to say, this is who I am right now, because if I say that now, am I stuck here?
Yeah.
I don't know yet. But again, this is for me. I would rather pick something to be now and then maybe have a metamorphosis, maybe grow. Maybe I'm a little caterpillar now, but I'm gonna be a hell of a butterfly a little bit later. And then maybe I'm something else later. But you can make a determination and you can take a look at it. Because I do think what we need to do is ask ourselves periodically, is this still for me?
Mm.
Is what I'm doing right now still for me? Because could you imagine Al Bundy? His biggest highlight was what he used to do as a football player. He got 4 touchdowns, right?
Four
Yeah.
touchdowns in a single game.
Yeah.
Okay, no, okay. Now, don't call no names because you might get sued. But you know somebody in your circle that their best days were back there.
Yeah. Yeah.
As I love Eric Thomas, he said, "May the rest of your days be the best of your days." I am not. I have not
Mm.
peaked yet. I know that I have not peaked yet.
Amen to that.
So
Yeah.
Amen to that. You know, this conversation takes me back to, I was at a book club meeting several years ago, and I remember the person saying, you know that question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And kids get really locked into like the few choices that we always hear. And then this person said, what I discovered is that it's not really about what you want to be when you grow up, but what is it that you like to do? Because what this person found through their research and observations was there was something that that job title gave you the opportunity to do. And later on in life, even though you're not doing that job title, you're still doing what you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And I think that is what a lot of people miss. We're so in pursuit of the title, the position, the role, that we don't give enough time to think about what is it that that role gives me the opportunity to do, because that is really where my identity lies.
Mm.
that is so good. Scripture says your gifts will make room for you and put you before great men.
Oof.
Right? Your gifts will make room. And so if you if again I go back to my identity as being a useful servant. Every job I have, every position I have, every volunteer organization I have, I can be a useful servant in that. I can do what I do in whatever job I do.
Yeah.
You can do it because again, work
Yeah.
with youth, geriatrics, military, support service director.
Yeah.
So there's a job there. There are some things that my task, that my leadership, my city wants me to do. I'm gonna kill those hours. What do you need me to do to be on a scale of 1 to 10? What do you need me to do to be that? Okay, those things. Okay, I'm gonna do that plus these few for you. Can I do these things? That and so they get extra. I'm
Mm.
going the extra mile. I'm fulfilled because whatever my job is, I'm taking care of that, and who I am comes out.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Because this is what you're never going to hear, Cathey. They're not going to call you up say, Cathey, you're working way too hard. You're producing way too much. You're treating people way too well. We need you to stop that." So, but if we find out what our responsibilities are, we exceed that, and then so how can I do me in this position and be useful to the world?
Mm.
It's a cheat code.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel bad, and again, I talked earlier about the good and the bad of this thing. There's been several times I'm having a conversation with somebody and I say, I feel like I'm cheating because I'm doing what I want to do. I'm happy. And I'm going to ask them, what do you think about me doing this? What do you think about me doing that? And it's like other people are complaining about their jobs. And I'm like, I don't.
Mm,
And so, but sometimes I feel like I'm getting over. And
mm.
that's, I mean, my wife gives me the wife look like, really? That's your complaint. Oh, that but I don't know. You get a call and say, "Hey, could you come see me?" I'm like, "What did I not do? What did I not do?" "Oh, you're doing great." La 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 la. And I'm not saying this to sound like but it's just like when you find that thing that's yours every day, it's like
Mm.
it's when you're living out your purpose. Again, it may be hard while you're living it out. That's why I say I don't want to tell anybody they'll maybe sitting there thinking, "Well, I'm working really hard and I'm tired." That's good. It's okay. Are you? This is grown people. When you real okay, I'm gonna leave it right there. Like, don't go there. But we was off and said sometimes I put in my best work. I'm extremely tired, but I'm smiling. Right. So it's not like
I think a lot of
I'm
people,
talking basketball. I'm talking basketball, Mark. Get it out of the gutter.
of course, he's talking basketball. That's
Yes.
what he's talking about. Lefford, I feel like a lot of people, young to old, they haven't really done the work to search for the thing, and they get confused or derailed by things that they might be good at. I mean, you both know this from me. Great example is I am great at marketing because I understand psychology. So I wrote a marketing book, but then when I left the shredding company to start my own marketing company, it started to feel gross. I'm like,
Mm,
I don't want to be out here. My purpose in life is not to help a bunch of companies make money, even though I'm great at it because I understand the psychology of it. And then I stumbled onto my friend John Waller, who gave, I was helping him with his marketing. He got asked to give a TED talk, and I was like, oh, the thing that I was meant to do is still related to the psychology. It's still related to marketing, but now it serves it in a way that feels awesome and genuine to me. And I think some people don't find that next level because they just go, oh, but I'm really good at this thing. And so they get stuck. And Mark, you already talked about it. You said being a school guidance counselor and being an educator or a teacher or whatever, there was the central theme in there that was still being fulfilled, even though even though the positions are different. So
Right, because as Lefford so eloquently put it, I can do, I can do what I can do in anything I do.
yeah, yeah. Ooh,
Right?
that's a good
So
way.
no
Yeah,
matter what it
yeah,
is, that's a quotable. You better write that one
I
yeah.
down.
like that
That
one.
is
Right?
I like
really
You
that
better
one.
write
good.
that one down. I can do what I can do in
In
anything
anything. Oh,
I
that's so
do.
good.
Yeah.
That's fire.
That's
That's
really fire.
fire.
That is.
Um, you know, I think the reason why a lot of younger people and I'm going to put a blanket statement on younger people because we were all younger people
Yeah.
at this point. We were all faced that question of, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do, right? And we said it like that. I don't know what I'm
I
going
don't know.
to do.
I don't know.
Whatever comes up.
Right. Part of that is also because at a certain point in life, you don't have enough experiences or you're not exposed to enough things. And Cathey, you brought that up for me just a few moments ago because I think about why do we struggle and why do we sometimes get stuck? It's because we have found a job or a role, right? I'm working for a marketing company and that's my job and it's giving me a paycheck and it's feeding my family and I'm going to stay in this mode. And I never step out of it and I never expose myself to other things. And I think some people find a hard time discovering their sweet spot, because they never go searching for it. And that's why I love that word earlier about discovery, right? And even tying in earlier with what you said, Lefford, about discovery through things that you don't necessarily think you want to do,
Give it a
right?
go.
But
Give it a go.
then to really find out, expose yourself even now to things you don't want to do to find what you can do in anything you do.
Mm.
If you work for somebody else, if there's a job out there are going to be plenty of things that aren't fun. Nobody wants to do it. There's going to be plenty of things. I'm not that person to say don't do what you don't like doing. There's some stuff. Sometimes I can get here by doing some of the garbage jobs.
Mm.
I love this. Don't like this. I'm gonna do this, and you'll get a chance to do that. Because again, if you don't know what you don't know, you just don't know. So I don't. I didn't know I liked this, or now I know I don't like this. Because people can throw money at you to do stuff.
Mm.
People, I need this person, and some people will chase the money, especially now. Like, look, I need to pay some bills. They'll go do that, and then they'll stay. Then they can stay stuck. But if you're not willing to test, to check, to try, then you can find yourself in a bad way. I will try something, do it, excel at it. Sometimes if you work for people, they'll say, Mark did that even though it wasn't his thing. He did a great job. So here's just an opportunity to do this. There's strategy to anything that you do. In my work. There's strategy. You know, I like speaking. All of us on this call like speaking. We like rehearsing, like practice. There's some people that don't like speaking. Um, I would still try to speak because I know it's valuable. I
Mm.
would
Yeah.
still try to
Yeah.
get there, and then it will allow me to grow.
Yep.
Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And I want to back up. This is it's a technique, and I'm not here to teach anybody anything, but I learned that you got 24 hours in a day. 8 hours, you need to get your rest, need to get your sleep. 8 hours, you need to do that job that's going to make that money that you need. You got 8 other hours. That the other 8 hours that you get in a 24-hour day, um, you could take one or two of those extra hours that you got and pour into something that you want to be when you grow up.
Mm.
This, I mean, I don't, I don't know if I can do it, but I want it. So I'm spending 2 hours a day on that. There could be a couple hours I could spend on some stuff that I don't necessarily want to do, but I need to do because it's going to matter someday. And then put that time and effort into that thing. There are going to be a couple that I just want to play and practice and just mess around and create. But use your time well. And then you can figure out stuff. Because I think the worst thing in the world is to get stuck in a job or a position and never grow out of it because all you did was fuss and cuss and discuss why you don't like that thing. And all the extra time that you got, you didn't do anything to move past that. You just didn't do anything. So again, who are you? Go back to the four questions. This who are you? What are you about? And then play with it, practice with it, move with it. And then you got a chance because again, I go back. I can imagine now that I'm 61 now. I'm 61 years old. I know that for the next 20 years, I can do what I'm doing now. I know that. Whether I do it or not, I know I can. So I can just play and practice other things. And I'll take some of this stuff in and just, I said, well, I'll never do that again. And just grow. But that's a decision that we can make if we know that. I think many of, not young people, I'm just going to say many people don't think that they can move from where they are. This is my box. This is what the world gave me. This is what I'm going to live and die with. And that ain't so.
Mm.
I can do some other things. And that's why use the time that we've been given to do stuff towards what you want to become.
Mm.
I love that. You know, Lefford, I know we've been talking for a while, but I have to ask you this question. That third question, what do you know? What is your advice for people who are posed with that question about how to answer that question?
It's funny. I made a joke about this earlier. I'm a dad and a granddad, and I've had kids, and I've said it myself. I have kids, so you tell them something. I know. You may be chested. I know. So okay, if you know it, then do it, right? So how do you say? So I asked the question, what is it that I really know? Um, I, I think it's the Da Vinci Code, or Think Like Da Vinci. There was a book, and it actually said like write down 100 things that you just like no, right? You can just sit down and start writing. What are some things I just know factually, and then go down that list. The first 20, 30, 40 things are going to be relatively easy. If you decide to go for 100, Cassie, those last 10 going to be hard. And then again, because now some of this stuff that I do, I got to give credit to you, Cathey, because remember you talking about ask yourself those 100 questions when you get ready to develop ideas. This is the
Mhm.
same kind of thing. So I'm just like, what are the things I know? And then I start picking out their themes, and there's some major things.
Mm.
Spend time figuring out the major thing. Let's say this. There's one thing. No matter what happens to me in my life, this is what I believe. When I go home to Glenville, Georgia, my people will throw a parade for me.
Mm,
I know that my sisters and my cousins and my they love themselves some Lefford Fake. So I
mm,
know that. Now, why is that important? If my wife says she don't love me no more, if my job says they don't love me anymore, all this other stuff, all these people say they don't love me, I know that there's some people that I grew up with that love me. So I'm never going to be alone. So I
mm,
know that.
mm,
Um, I know, again, I know that if I put in the time and effort, I can get better at stuff. If I really, really, really know that to be true, that's on my list. That means no matter what I want to do, if I put in the time and the effort, I'm going to get good at it. So because I know that, then I can grow from there. So that's what I tell people. So once you know what you know, then you start rocking with it. And like I said, I kind of know it, then you can play with it until you know it. Because if you figure out, Kathy, if you figure out who was it? It said, what it's not what you know or don't know, it's what you think you know that just ain't so. I don't know who said that, but it
yeah.
was really so if I start playing with something and I figure out that I thought I knew it, but I really, really didn't, that I've learned something.
Mm,
So again, if this is the part that I would tell anybody, take this little spit out and write, spend time on these questions, like spend time on them, and then figure this stuff out because it's worth it. Because just because market would be hard to figure out what you know, it's not impossible. Keep working on there until you have the answer. Persistence is key in this exercise.
yeah.
Don't just take the first thing that pops up. It might be right, but go down a little deeper on each one. And I think this will be a valuable tool to anyone. I know it's been very valuable to me.
Oof. And I think you're being very gracious when you said the last 10 will be hard. I'm like, the first 30. I'll be stuck by the time I get to 30.
No, but
I,
there's so many things that, but again, there's so many things that but sometimes we want to get too deep. Sometimes,
yeah.
oh, y'all, philosophize. You don't have to do
I
that. It's
know
just
that
some
grass
basic
is
stuff.
green, or I know the
Yeah.
sky is blue, right? And
Okay. Yeah. What else do you know?
yeah.
Do you know that, you know what, if I, this is one of the things that I love, which was silly. It's so true. If I spend less than I make, I can get financial freedom. If I spend less than I make. That's okay. Everybody knows that, Lefford. Okay, what are you doing with that?
Yeah.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So just these things and
Yeah.
just dance with them. If I spend, you know what? If I take my wife on a date once a week, if I tell her I love her, if I go take out the trash without being told, if I buy her another horse, she gonna be happy with that. So there's some things that I know, and again, it ain't got to be that deep. It ain't. We talk about in we talk about drills.
Yes, we do.
You know, if you do drills, you're gonna get better.
We do know that. I think all three of us know that.
Know that.
We know that, and like I said, everybody knows that. If you just practice, you'll get better. Okay, what are you doing with that?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's not hard. Eric Thomas always talk about people getting too deep. I say, no, don't get too deep. Just be shallow for a second, and then and figure out what you figure out, and then there's a lot that we can get and grow from if we did it.
I
Great
love
exercise.
I
Yeah.
love this.
Stay shallow for a second.
I love that. I love that.
Okay, how many times? Oh, just go walk. Look, uh, I remember I bought a rowing machine. You know, one of those.
Mhm.
I bought one and I went out and I ain't gonna lie to you, I must have researched for like 6 months. What's the best kind? What's the chains or what's what the rope and all this stuff. And I was just going through all this stuff. And I just finally went to marketplace and I just said rowing machine. About 50 of them showed up. All the research I was doing, all I really needed to do was just go out there and ask about it, put it out there, and then I just start seeing stuff come down. Then just pick one. How much money I want to spend, how far I want to go, pick one. It really once I start going shallow, I got it done. I had it in my house in a weekend.
Mm,
Mm.
Spend too much time getting ready to get ready. Um,
yeah.
Sometimes we gotta be shallow.
Mm,
Mm. Sometimes we got to be shallow. All the time we got to be persistent, and we have to be patient.
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Oh man. First of all, before I start to reluctantly bring this to a close.
Oh wow, it is 5:30. Sorry.
No, don't be so sorry. Never be sorry for a great conversation.
Yeah.
This is such a side note, but I just have to say this, that I'm going to find a way to put this in my conversation. Cuss, fuss, and discuss.
Oh, yeah. I saw you
That's
written that
that's
down,
hilarious.
Mark.
I mean, there were so many nuggets. Trust me, that wasn't the nugget of the nugget, but that was like a new phrase. I got to use that. Cuss, fuss, and discuss. I got to use that. I got to use that somewhere.
You're gonna find a way to bring it in.
Obviously had to. I'll have to invite you to one of my family reunions. That's
Okay.
that's
That's it in a nutshell.
That is.
That's what we're doing.
Oh, no, seriously speaking, I will say there's two things. Then, Cathey, I want to ask you, and then Lefford, I'll finally ask you after this whole conversation, what is something like that's really resonating with you or sticking with you? I can do what I can do, and anything I do
Ah,
really stood out to me. And
love
the other
that.
thing that stood out to me is you didn't just ask me, who am I? But you asked me, what does that do? Right? Like I'm a teacher. What does a teacher do? That took it to another level. So thank you for that. Cathey, what's sticking with you?
Well, 4 pages of notes. There's so many things, but I will say that there's something that Leffert said that my dad always said. So it kind of made a personal connection to me. And I think when he said it, I was like, I think that has been part of my character because I've heard it so much from my dad. And so to hear Leffert say it, he just would be like, when I wanted to be a pitcher, he's like, you got to do what you got to do. And what you got to do is go throw a bunch of socks against the wall 100 times a day. Like I thought about the things that you were saying, Lefford, and sometimes when you want to be here, like you said, there's a bunch of stuff you have to do. And so I don't know, that really personally resonated with me, because at some point we're all going to hit something that we want to achieve, and we got to do what we got to do.
Yeah, yeah. And the doing part, sometimes the decision to go do it is the hard part. Because sometimes, I mean, we're not lazy, but we do what lazy people do. I don't want to work that hard. You know what I'm saying? Because we work really hard. So when you say lazy people don't want to do some things, right? Because we do a lot. When was the last time like you took a whole weekend off and did nothing? Nothing, right? So
Yeah.
we don't want to do some of the hard stuff. If somebody were to ask you, what are the 5 or 6 things that we needed to do for anything? If you want to be a good coach, what do you do? Want to be a good speaker, what do you do? Want to be a good dad, what do you do? Do a good mom, what do you do? Be a good spouse, what do you do? If we would know that, so then do that.
Yeah.
That's the thing that keep coming. Just do that thing.
Do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Lefford, after we've
Yes,
had
sir.
this conversation, what's something maybe new, different, or maybe even the same that you're walking away with?
It's almost, my world is full of excuses. My world is full of excuses. I got a reason to not do a lot of things. I got a reason to do a lot of things. It's full of excuses. And so go back to, what's your identity? And then do what your identity is. And once you know what that is, if you know who you are, just do it. And sometimes, it's just me. I do the easier stuff, and the hard stuff I just let go sometimes. Um, we had a conversation a while back. Y'all know what some things that went on in my life, and I went into a shell for a little while. I literally did. I needed to go into the shell to heal and to grow and to be that person. And it was comfortable being there. And I ventured out and I would do good stuff. Um, but there was some hard. I was still tired and hurting. Because I was tired and hurting, I didn't do the hard things that a true Lefford fate would do. What would Marc being truly Marc be doing? What would Cathey being truly Cathey be doing? And then do those things. That's coming up to me, because in this hour and a half that we've been together, I've just been enjoying the laughter, the growth, and all that. And that just reminded me, I need this in my life. So that's what's coming up for me, Marc, since you asked that question.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing everything that you shared. The wisdom, the levity, the service that you shared. It inspires me to say, well, who am I? I'm Lefford and Cathey's friend. And what am I about? I'm about surrounding myself with people like Lefford and Cathey. And what do I know? I know that Lefford and Cathey are 2 of the most awesome people I will ever meet on this planet. So what am I going to do about it? I'm going to make sure every time I have an opportunity, I'm going to have a conversation with Lefford and Cathey.
I like it. I like, wrap that up.
Yeah.
Brother, wrap that up.
Can you just do some jujitsu on us?
Okay.
Yeah.
Lefford, thank you so much. Thank you. Lefford, if people want to find out about the work that you do, how do they find out about you?
Wow. The cool thing about having a name like Lefford Fate, all you got to do is Google him. He's there. I mean, that's it. That's easy. Well, LeffordFate.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on all those social things. Holla at your boy. There's, you know what? There's a lot to do out in this world, right? There's a lot of stuff going on. People got opinions about everything. But if you want to be happy, help somebody. Find somebody to help. Maybe somebody that don't look like you, sound like you, think like you, and just help them. And you'll realize, I believe, that life is so good. Life is so good. Share your life with somebody else and serve.
Aw.
And on that note, I got nothing else to say. But what you just heard, you take that and you understand that after all of this, oh, there's more of this to come. So we hope that you walk away helping, knowing who you are, knowing what you're about, knowing what you know, knowing what to do about it, and knowing that anytime you want some wisdom, come on and hang out with your boy and your girl and the one and only Lefford Fate. We'll always be here for you.
All right, all right, all right. Because it's about to go down.